It's a day that's going to usher in a brighter, safer future for bicycling in San Francisco. I'm Carter Rohan, Senior Director of Transportation Planning and Development for the SFMTA. Our Executive Director, Nathaniel Ford, couldn't be here today, but I'm sure that he's as pleased as we are about the progress of this bicycle program and this signature day. Today is about looking forward to the implementation of the bike plan, which will add 34 miles of bike lanes and help us make a great city for bicycling even greater. We've come a long way. We've come a long way since the injunction 3 years ago, and we wouldn't be here without the great leadership of our mayor, Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom understands the crucial link between sustainable transportation choices like bicycling and the larger environmental issues that we must systematically confront to resolve ourselves for future generations. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Mayor Newsom.
Thanks, Carter. Thank you all. Thank you very much for coming out. Well, as any young Jesuit-trained boy will say, God's delays are not God's denials. We are finally now very close to the end of this laborious and long process, one that began in November of 2006 with what I would term a specious injunction that was advanced here that may not have been specious in terms of the legal question that was raised, but by the author of that question, one that unnecessarily, from my perspective, delayed the inevitable, and that was an advancement and enhancement of our bicycle network here in San Francisco. As you know, this is not over. We still anticipate a possible appeal of the environmental work that was approved yesterday by planning. We expect that there'll still be issues that will delay this injunction from ultimately being removed, that will take us through probably most of the summer, but that by sometime in August, end of August, maybe worst case, beginning of September, we will hit the ground literally sprinting, not even running, as it relates to enhancing and advancing some of the collective wisdom that is gathered in front of me, behind you, and all around us here. As Carter said, some 34 miles of new bike lanes will be enhanced. Most of that work will be done in just the next few years. A lot of it will be done just weeks after the injunction is lifted. Just to put it in perspective, what does 34 miles mean? Well, if you add it to the 45 miles that exist today, it's about a 76% increase in the total number of bike lanes or miles of bike lanes in our city. We're going to be substantially improving the number of what we call sharrows, and this is a San Francisco first. As many of you know, those are the arrows as part of the bike lanes that are shared, part of our nomenclature that the state adopted, Leah, in 2005, I guess, formally. Will be substantially increasing the number of sharrows in our city. Again, many, many, many miles of new sharrows will be put in. Bike racks, we couldn't even put in one bike rack in the last few years, which is unbelievable. A city could not even add one simple bike rack. We've got 750 that have been requested. Not all 750 are necessarily ready to go, but we will add to the 1,550 bike racks that we have, and we'll see a substantial number that will also be added to the streets in, again, a very short order. 45 of the 60 identified projects now have been formally approved by the MTA. That was done this morning, and I want to thank the MTA Board, thank their leadership and their example. Well done. We were hoping it was 46, but that's a whole other discussion. But 45 were finally approved. It's a far cry from the old days where I was a supervisor and we had to go one by one back to the board and we'd get into this give and take of controversy. I remember the last one up there on Polk Street many, many years ago. And I remember, Leah, you proved me wrong. I was concerned about it, that first vote. And then we came back for the permanent, and I said, you were right, I was wrong, it's worked. And since then, I've been not just a convert, but an advocate for dramatically expanding that network throughout the city. But that's it. The board, we love the board, I know, But the board doesn't necessarily need to do anything now as it relates to those enhancements, since most of that now has been done in one fell swoop by the MTA. And that will inure to all of our benefits, as we'll be able to move forward with the plan in a much more aggressive manner. Final couple points. We are also going to be substantially adding a safety component to our effort. And that includes some enforcement, which we collectively recognize needs to be done. We need to be responsible, and we need to keep people safe. And we need to look at our streets in a shared manner. This is not, I hope, framed as cars and parking versus bicycles. To me, that was yesterday's debate. Today and tomorrow's debate is the debate we're having around our streets or pavement to parks program, our Sunday streets closures. It's part of a new narrative of collaboration and partnership with business community, with civic leaders, with the people here at City Hall. So I say all that because I think it's the notion of the genius of and versus the tyranny of or, that you have cars or bikes, that you can have cars and bikes, you can have parking and you can have customers, you can have no parking and you can have customers. You can ultimately do many of these things at the same time, democratize our streets, start converting more pedestrian enhancements as well as bicycle enhancements, and start looking differently at our city in terms of what a city can be. And that's the spirit of our times and spirit that brings me here today. Final word. We have a very aggressive local global climate action plan, as you know, to roll back our greenhouse gas emissions 20% below 1990 levels by 2012. We've already accomplished a remarkable feat, and that was last year when we unveiled that we're already roughly 6% below 1990 levels. We did that by 2008, again, last year. That's a remarkable achievement for a city. Now, in order to get to that next level, you know we've been aggressive on our solar, we've been aggressive on green buildings, we've been trying to do this ubiquitous infrastructure for electric vehicles. You see some demonstrations behind us, but this bike plan is a big part of that. It's not just composting and recycling. A bike plan is a big part of that. Already 6% of our commuters are bicyclists. That's more than any other city in the United States of America. We know when we add a bike lane, we see about a 50% increase in use. 54% of the greenhouse gas emissions in this city are transportation related. The tailpipes of these cars you see behind yourselves and in front of me. So in order for us to get there, this bike network needs to take shape, and it needs to envelop itself in a safe manner, in a way that ultimately will inure to the benefit of all of us. Even those of us that are not bicyclists will get the benefit of this because of the air we breathe and the benefit of the example that we will leave to our children to get more physically active as well, and to look at bicycling not just as recreation, but to also look at it as a pragmatic way of getting to and from places of work, to and from places that we need to go. So I think this is just a wonderful day, long overdue. I think it's an exciting time in our city, and I think you're going to see after August, September, an extraordinary amount accomplished in an extraordinary short period of time. Wade Crowfoot in absentia, thank you for all your leadership in my office. You have led the charge. To Leah Sham and the Bicycle Coalition, thank you for your example and your constancy. Thank you to Planning Department and John Ram, who understands this issue. Thank you to their leadership, and thank you to our MTA and their board of directors. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mayor Newsom. Thank you for your vision, your leadership, and your steadfast support. I now would like to invite to the podium Reverend Dr. James McCrae, Jr., the Vice Chair and immediate past Chairman of the Board of the SFMTA.
Thank you, Mr. Rowan. On behalf of the SFMTA Board of Directors, I am pleased to be here with you this afternoon to mark the occasion of our approval of the bicycle plan and 45 projects that it includes. We are proud of our role in advancing the cause of bicycling in San Francisco, and we cannot wait to see those 34 miles of new bicycle lanes. Much has changed since the injunction came down 3 years ago. Most importantly, voters in 2007 entrusted the SFMTA Board of Directors with more responsibility over the Charter's Transit First policy, of which bicycling is a central part. We believe that today we have shown that the trust given to us has been well placed. We also want to repeat one of those central themes that came to us today. We are beginning something important even as we mark the end of a long road, or should we say, the end of a long bicycle lane. Safer and more attractive bicycling is coming to San Francisco. Congratulations to all who have participated.
Thank you, Reverend McCrae. As we all know, the bike plan lives at the SFMTA, but it breathes because of the collaboration with the other city departments. I'm sure the next speaker, John Ram, the Director of City Planning, sometimes wishes that he had never heard of the bike plan for San Francisco, but his department did an incredible job. John Ram?
Thank you, Carter. Thanks, everyone, for being here today. We're very excited to have played a part in this. The bike plan is a very important part of the collaboration between the planning department and the MTA, and in our planning work in general, which we believe very strongly needs to be collaborative with transportation in particular, but with other city agencies as well. The EIR, as you know, is a technical document that is a requirement of CEQA. It was a particular requirement of this particular appeal, and is a little bit of a tedious, frustrating process for some of us. But nonetheless, in spite of the appeals, in spite of the injunctions, we made it through. And as the mayor said, we are approaching the inevitable, which is to create bicycling lanes and bicycling plan that is an integral part of our transportation system. I really want to thank our colleagues at the MTA for all the work that we've done together on this. They've been a great partner on this, on the environmental work. And I need to thank one of those unsung heroes who's kind of behind the scenes. But to my left is Deborah Dwyer on my staff, who was primarily responsible for the EIR and for getting through this incredible process. So, Deborah, thank you for all the time and energy. And congratulations to all of us for reaching this milestone.
Thank you, John. I want to call up another director of the city family, Ed Riskin, Department of Public Works. Ed's job is crucial going from here forward. He will be part of the team that will collaborate to implement. Ed?
Thank you, Carter. Good afternoon. The Department of Public Works is the steward of the city's streets and public rights of way. It's our responsibility to design, build, maintain, repair, manage, and improve our city's streets. Because of the unfortunate bike injunction, we've all been operating under some constraints. But even within those constraints, we've been doing what we can to prioritize our work in line with the city's transit first policy, prioritizing our resurfacing on bike lanes, doing special projects such as we did last year on our Arguello bike lanes and this year on Market Street. And while we're excited to continue that work, we're even more excited that once this injunction is lifted, that we'll be able to work with our partners at the MTA to actually implement and to get these 45 projects in the ground as quickly as possible. We have been working with the mayor's office and with the MTA to get ourselves ready to get to this point and to tee ourselves up for implementation. We'll be working with them moving forward to coordinate our paving schedules, to identify any ways that we can leverage funding, and to do whatever we can to support the MTA in implementing this plan. So I thank all of you for working with us through these years. Thank particularly the bicycle community, the Bike Coalition, and the great city partners they have in the MTA. And we're very excited to be a part of helping to now see this become reality. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you, Ed. During the past 3 years, an unprecedented amount of coordination among staff within the SFMTA occurred. If you worked for planning within SFMTA, you worked on the bike EIR. Literally, it was all hands on deck. So bear with me a second. I would like to see if I can name everyone associated with the immediate certification of the plan. Bond Yee, Ken McDonald, Roberta Boomer, Jack Fleck, Amit Ghosh, Timothy Papandreou, Bridget Smith, Oliver Gaida, Mike Salaberry, Heath Maddox, Damon Curtis, Charles Rivas Plata, Laura Stonehill, James Shamiri, Raul Roque, Deidre Weinberg, Ryan Dodge, Luis Montoya, Kevin Johnson, and Phil Olmstead. Let's give them a hand. This hand is for them. The next speaker, I want to ask Bert Hill, the chair of the Bicycle Advisory Committee, to speak to us about the BAC's vital role in the process. I also want to take a moment to thank Mr. Hill for accepting just last week the League of American Bicyclists National Bike Education Award for 2008. In fact, we received this award because Bert received the Educator of the Year award. Congratulations, Mr. Hill.
Thank you. The Bicycle Advisory Committee is a committee of the Board of Supervisors, each member representing a district in the city. We really represent the city by district for each of us. I want to talk, and we're very much involved in the planning, and we're very much involved in the bike plan. A lot has been said about the emphasis of the injunction, which is on our streets and roads and bike facilities, but there's a lot more to the bike plan that's very important. Our goal, 40% of the trips in the U.S., and presumably this city also, are under 2 miles. We need to have people taking bicycles on those 2 miles instead of getting into their cars, because when they get into their cars in an unwarmed engine, it's polluting as much as a Model T. So we need to move very efficiently towards that direction. How do we do that? How do we reach the families, the children, the seniors, the rest of the population that needs to be traveling in this city and getting the benefits of the exercise, the low cost, the reliability, and healthy, cleaner air? To do that, not only do we need to have safe streets in terms of bike lanes and bike facilities, but we need to fill in the rest of the program too. What is the rest of the program? Certainly the mayor mentioned law enforcement is a critical one, where we identify the dangers to cyclists. Looking at evaluation and measurement, what makes our streets unsafe? How are people injured? And what conditions do they have and how many? Looking at encouragement, trying to get more and more people, the city taking an aggressive attitude towards it, and probably not last but not least is education. Education is critically important. People think that they know the safety aspects of bicycling because it seems so intuitive, but a lot of the safety isn't, and as a result, it would benefit all of us to take advantage of the free bicycle safety program offered by the city to anyone who wants to take it. So with that, I encourage you and challenge you to take these classes and not feel so challenged on the road. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Bert. Now I want to introduce the leader of one of the most effective advocacy organizations that I have ever seen. I'm so glad that the city family share so many of the goals with this organization, the San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. Even if we don't always agree on every last detail, honestly, working together to a true goal benefits us all. I would like to introduce Leah Sham.
It is a good day for better biking in the city of San Francisco today. My name is Leah Sham, and I'm very, very, very proud, especially proud today, to be the executive director of the 10,000-member San Francisco Bicycle Coalition. I want to thank the mayor so much for his strong words, his strong actions, and his strong commitment. Thank all of the city departments that have worked so hard. We are celebrating a historic decision. Today, the city's leaders have chosen to advance sustainable transportation in a bigger step than ever before. I believe that. I've been doing this for about 11 years, and I think this is the most significant step this city's chosen to take towards more sustainable transportation. And I want to ask, why is this bike plan so important? Is it just a plan? Is it going to sit on a shelf and gather dust? I think you've seen the commitment here today, and that's not going to happen. And I can promise you from the advocate side, that's not going to happen. Why are these new bike lanes so important? Simply because we know when we build them, they do come. We've seen it time and time again. This very bike lane, the mayor referenced, the Polk Street bike lanes right behind you. When these bike lanes were striped, the number of bicyclists on this street increased 41%. If you go a little bit west, Arguello Boulevard, when that bike lane was striped, the number of bicyclists using it jumped 67%. If you go back 10 years to Valencia Street, one of the early victories for bike lanes, that number of bicyclists jumped 144% after the bike lanes were put in. Howard Street, south of Market, 300% increase after those bike lanes were put in. So I ask you today, what is going to happen when we stripe 45? Wow, I almost said a lower number. What is going to happen when we stripe 45 new bike lanes that were approved today? We are going to see an astronomical increase in the number of people biking. And I give the city credit. The number of people biking has increased already 43% just in the past 2 years. 2 years of nothing new on our streets. 2 years of basically a standstill physically. We've still seen an increase. What is going to happen when these new bike lanes are striped? We know we're going to see a huge, huge increase. And the mayor referenced yesterday's debate, and I think that's a good point to reissue here. I believe yesterday's debate used to be framed in terms of bicyclists versus drivers, 2 wheels versus 4. We are over that. Today's debate is about how do we do everything we can for the environment, for public health, for accessibility, for affordability of all San Franciscans. And bicycling plays a vital role in that. And today you saw your city leaders choose that path, choose the role of sustainability, of improved public health, of access and affordability. I want to say big thanks in addition to the mayor, Wade Crowfoot of his staff, who's not here today but did a lot of heavy lifting. In particular, please take a minute and thank the MTA Board of Directors who made an important and very, very wise decision today to approve the bike plan and to advance 45 new bike lanes. Huge thanks to the MTA staff. They've done an astronomical job. I know many of them have wanted to throttle me in the past couple years, I'm sure, at many times. And they've done a huge amount of heavy lifting and deserve so much thanks. I thank you all, truly. From tens of thousands of bicyclists, thank you. To the Planning Commission, the Planning Director, Mr. Rame, the planning staff, Deborah, everyone, Bill Wyko, who did so much work on this. I want to thank the individuals who went out on the street and made sure there was public support. This morning we had 200 people lined up here to speak. 200 people supporting this bike plan and giving public comment, taking their morning off from work, lining up in City Hall to speak in support. We had more than 150 businesses and community organizations write letters of support in front of the bike plan. And literally thousands of people take time out to send letters in to support the bike plan. It is a new day. Today is a win-win for San Francisco. And as a bicyclist, I'm so proud to be part of it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Leah. I want to close by pointing out the obvious. While today marks the end of a process, the real significance lays in the fact that it opens a new era for bicycling and makes San Francisco the preeminent city for bicycling in North America. So let's get on with the business of making it happen. Thank you all for joining us today, and if there are any questions, we'd be happy to take them.